What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Wednesday, March 5th, 2025, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now it is 18:18 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we currently have U.S. nuclear forces on very high alert. There were as many as 4 B-52 nuclear bombers airborne over the continental United States earlier this afternoon. Normally you only see maybe 1 or 2 on any given day, but there were 4 B-52s airborne today. And in addition to that, we had 2 very long emergency action messages transmitted this afternoon. They were 268 characters each, and that is very rare. The last time I heard a 268 character message was when Iran was getting ready to strike Israel, and when Israel was getting ready to retaliate last year in April, okay, right before Culinary Night. So our nuclear forces are on very, very high alert for some reason. 268 character emergency action messages. The typical length is 30 characters. That's the standard length. So these messages were nearly 10 times the length of a standard message. And an emergency action message, if you don't know what that is, these are basically nuclear attack options or targeting information for our nuclear forces. So they send these messages out to our nuclear armed submarines and our bombers and our silos so they can update their targeting information. And right now we have a nuclear war command and control plane up in the air over Kansas, and we also have a nuke sniffer up in the air over Offutt Air Base, which is very interesting. Those are planes that detect radiation in the atmosphere. We also have a lot of sub-hunters off of Florida right now. We have one off the coast of Daytona Beach and one off the coast of St. Petersburg. So very, very interesting. And last night we had a massive amount of reconnaissance in the Black Sea. We had a NATO AWACS plane looping in Romania here, and then at the same time there was a French recon plane flying parallel to the western shore of Crimea, and then there was also a French nuclear capable fighter jet, a Mirage 2000, flying in the Black Sea as well. And then we also have this privately chartered recon plane here patrolling the border of Moldova and Romania. Okay, so this could have been related to the missile strike that occurred in Kryvyi Rih earlier today. There was a Russian missile strike on an apartment building that killed 2 people earlier this afternoon, but something was definitely brewing here. So we have some major breaking news coming in from Ukraine. China is reportedly negotiating with Russia to send its military to the occupied territories of Ukraine so that their military can gain combat experience. So I repeat, China is getting ready to send their troops into the occupied territories of Ukraine, supposedly so their troops gain combat experience, but I don't believe it. I think what they're doing here is Russia is now worried that the UK and France are going to send troops into Ukraine because they already said they're going to send up to 30,000 troops, and they're not going to be on the front lines, but they're going to be in rear areas protecting cities and strategic sites and assisting with air defense and other things. So maybe that's Russia's way of countering that, bringing China in. So this is huge news, guys. The war drums of World War III are continuing to beat. Please make sure you're getting prepared. Make sure you have a nuclear war survival plan. It sounds crazy, but it's something that the older generations who grew up in the Cold War had to deal with and had to live with, okay? Making sure you have a fallout shelter in the event of a nuclear escalation. That is critical, okay? Make sure you have a fallout shelter you can get to within a few minutes, and make sure you have at least 2 weeks of food and water and medical supplies and a way to dispose of your waste when you're in the fallout shelter, okay? Because you're going to need to stay in that shelter for 2 weeks. So make sure you have everything you need, okay? And if you live in an apartment building, for example, the basement of your apartment building is a great place to survive a nuclear war, okay? Assuming that you're not right next to a nuclear war target and your building doesn't collapse from a blast wave. If you're further out from a target, then the basement of your apartment building is absolutely perfect. A train station underground, anything underground is ideal. If you have a house, the basement of your house is great too. And U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth declared early on Wednesday that the U.S. is prepared to go to war with China. He said this on Fox and Friends. He said, "We're prepared," in response to China saying it was ready to fight any type of war. Those who long for peace must be prepared for war. That's what Hegseth said, okay? And then he stressed that it was important to be strong, okay? So Hegseth basically responding to China saying, okay, we're ready for any war that you're ready for. And the U.S. will continue to suspend weapons supplies and intelligence sharing with Ukraine until a date for peace talks with Russia is set, according to White House National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. He said this today. Okay, so basically the U.S. is trying to twist the arm of Ukraine and force them into a peace deal by suspending weapons and intelligence sharing until they capitulate and surrender and basically give Russia everything they want for the sake of peace. This is absolutely insane. And so it looks like Europe is now going to step up to the plate finally and carry on with what the U.S. was doing. And the U.S. banned the U.K. from sharing U.S. intelligence with Ukraine. So that is huge news. And the CIA Director John Ratcliffe told Maria Bartiromo that the U.S. paused weapons shipments and intelligence to Ukraine. Ratcliffe says he looks forward to lifting the pause and working with Ukraine towards peace. And Emmanuel Macron had his address to the French people tonight. And I want to read to you some of the things he said. He said some very, very strong things here, very important for the future of the world. He said, "The Russian threat is there and affects the countries of Europe, and it affects us. Russia has made the Ukrainian conflict a global conflict. Russia is testing our limits. Russia has become a threat to France and to Europe. The United States, our ally, has changed its position on this war, is supporting Ukraine less, and is leaving doubts about what will happen next. President Putin's Russia violates our borders to assassinate opponents, manipulates elections in Romania or Moldova. It tests our limits, and this aggressiveness does not seem to know any borders. I want to believe that the United States will remain at our side, but we must be ready if this is not the case. Peace cannot be the capitulation of Europe. It cannot be its collapse. Peace in Ukraine will perhaps come through the deployment of European forces. I have decided to open the strategic debate on the protection of our allies on the European continent through our nuclear deterrent. The future of Europe does not have to be decided in Washington or Moscow. Russia has become a threat to France and Europe. By 2030, Russia plans to further increase its army with 3,000 more tanks and 300 more fighter jets. Who can believe that Russia will stop at Ukraine? So, strong statements there talking about extending the nuclear deterrent of France to the rest of Europe, saying that the future of Europe can't be decided by Washington. And he also said that peace cannot be the capitulation of Ukraine or its collapse. Okay, and he's saying that the U.S. is basically changing its position now, which is obvious. So, guys, get prepared. Things are really escalating. And this update was sponsored by NYPrepper Supply. Guys, NYPrepper Supply is doing a massive sale on their 3-month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to go to preparewithnyprepper.com, and the link is in the description below this video. They're selling their 3-month emergency food supply for just $600. So that's $100 off the normal price. And this is 3 months of food at 2,000 calories per day. Has a shelf life of up to 25 years. And all of this is packed into 6 rugged, water-resistant buckets. And free shipping is included. And they're also offering a disaster replacement warranty. So if your food supply gets destroyed by a natural disaster, they'll replace it for you with no charge. And they also will provide you with free survival books and information, including a natural disaster field guide, a survival Bible digital copy. So use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get $100 off the My Patriot Supply 3-month emergency food supply. And the link is in the description below this video. And Emmanuel Macron also announced a meeting in Paris of the top generals of countries ready to send troops to guarantee peace in Ukraine. Okay, so Europe is now meeting to discuss how to send these troops into Ukraine. This is huge, guys. And UK's Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, said a Ukraine peace deal needs security guarantees to avoid breaches by Russia. So this is the big difference here, okay? Trump does not want security guarantees. He doesn't want the U.S. involved in any security guarantees. He basically wants it to stay as a European problem. He doesn't want to have to back up the U.K. or back up Europe when they send their peacekeepers, okay? He made it clear he doesn't want the U.S. involved at all. He wants Europe to handle everything, and the only thing he's going to do is bring together Europe and Putin and basically force Ukraine to capitulate, okay? But basically, Trump is completely isolating America from this whole war. He's pulling our weapons supplies away. He's pulling intelligence sharing away, and he's turning this into basically a European problem, okay? And that's where the big disagreement is, because Europe wants America to help them and needs America to help them. So this is the big problem. And the head of the office of the president of Ukraine, Andriy Yermak, had a phone call with U.S. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz today. And a group of 77 retired U.S. generals and admirals called on Trump to support possible military action against Tehran, warning that Tehran is nearing nuclear weapons capability. Okay, so we already know that Israel is planning to strike Iran's nuclear facilities. We heard some sources say that in the latter days of the Biden administration, they were concerned that Israel was going to strike Iran's nuclear sites, and then now the Trump administration is concerned that they're going to strike Iran's nuclear sites, and Trump himself said that Israel should have struck the nuclear sites, but now Trump is backtracking on that, and he's trying to use Putin to get a deal with Iran, okay, which is pretty weird. And Keir Starmer, Macron, and Zelensky will travel to D.C. to discuss a new peace plan with Trump possibly next week. And Trump was not going to sign the rare earths agreement yesterday, as he is now insisting on a bigger and better deal, so the terms may change, according to CBS News citing sources. And senior Trump officials held private talks with Zelensky and his team after Friday's Oval Office skirmish to get the talks back on track, according to CNN. And Ukrainian media, quoting Zelensky's spokesman, said Zelensky did not send a message to Trump asking to sign a deal on minerals again, as Trump claimed in his address to Congress last night. And if the war in Ukraine escalates and more refugees start to flee the country, their distribution among EU countries should be organized more fairly, according to Nancy Faeser, the Minister of Internal Affairs of Germany. Currently, this burden lies mainly with Germany, Poland, and the Czech Republic, she added. So the EU is already preparing for the war to escalate. That's why they're considering what to do with more refugees when they come into Europe. Okay, they're already considering what to do if another several million Ukrainians have to flee because Russia's getting ready to nuke Ukraine, and they have to flee before the nukes land. And by the way, there's a prophecy called the Azov Manna prophecy, and I first shared it with you guys a few years back, right before Russia invaded. And this prophecy is 100% dead on, okay? Prophecy states that Russia would invade Ukraine, there would be a massive flow of refugees, and then there would be a second flow of refugees right before Russia nukes multiple cities in Ukraine. Okay, so that could happen still. And Germany has reached the limit of its possibilities in transferring weapons from its arsenal to Ukraine, according to the German Defense Ministry. Okay, so Germany does not have any more weapons to give to Ukraine. And Romania expelled the Russian embassy military attaché and his deputy. And the president of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, called for Zelensky, Trump, and Putin to meet in Belarus for the peace deal. And Dmitry Medvedev, the former president of Russia, said, "Our main task will remain to inflict maximum damage on the Kiev regime." Okay, so Russia's clearly stating it doesn't matter if there's a peace agreement or not. Our main task is to inflict maximum damage. Does that sound like a country that's interested in peace? I don't think so, guys. We're basically bending over backwards to please Putin. We're demanding that Ukraine surrender and capitulate and all these things. We're pulling our supplies away from Ukraine. But what's Russia doing? They just attacked an apartment building and killed 2 civilians just this afternoon. Okay, and Ukraine is no longer going to get air defense missiles from the U.S., which is critical for Ukraine's defense because Russia uses all those hypersonic missiles and ballistic missiles and cruise missiles, and the only way that they can shoot those down is with the Patriot missiles. Okay, we've seen how effective they are. They were able to take down all these hypersonic missiles. We should be thankful, actually, that Ukraine is testing our weapons for us like they've never been tested before. Okay, the Patriot missile system has never been tested like that since we gave it to them. Okay, the Patriot system has never been directly attacked by multiple hypersonic missiles, cruise missiles, and ballistic missiles in an attempt to destroy it. And it successfully shot down all of them. If you remember, that was like a year and a half ago when Ukraine first got those Patriot missiles, okay? So we should be thankful that Ukraine is testing all these weapons for us, and we should be taking notes as well. And the Ukrainian army confirmed that they shot down 115 Russian drones yesterday out of 181 that were launched. And apparently a Russian drone struck an energy facility in the Odessa region. So Russia is still attacking Ukraine, guys, okay? And China said on Wednesday it will increase its defense budget by 7% this year. China's military spending remains the second largest behind the U.S., and it already has the world's largest navy. The budget, which adds up to $245 billion, was announced at the National People's Congress, the annual meeting of China's legislature. The Pentagon and many experts say China's total spending on defense may be 40% higher or more because of items included under other budgets. Okay, so there could even be nearly double the amount of spending, okay, that's included under other budgets. So you're talking about between $250 to $500 billion that China's spending now on their defense. And we're going to be cutting back our defense spending. China's increasing by 7%, and we're cutting back by 8%. How stupid is that? And Trump said last night during his address to Congress that his administration will get the Panama Canal back, and we have already started working on it. And Trump mentioned Greenland again last night about taking it back or taking it over. And the Hong Kong-based infrastructure corporation CK Hutchison Holdings announced today that it had reached a deal with BlackRock on a $22 billion sale of its interests in a key Panama Canal port operator. The sale will give BlackRock's global infrastructure partners and other U.S.-based companies a 90% stake in the Panama Ports Company, which operates the key ports of Balboa and Cristobal on both the Atlantic and Pacific sides of the Panama Canal. Wow. Okay, so BlackRock now has 90% control of the ports on the Panama Canal on the Atlantic and Pacific side. Guys, BlackRock is a really shady company, and now they basically own the Panama Canal. Additionally, BlackRock will gain control over 80% of C.K. Hutchison's other interests across the world, consisting of 43 ports, comprising of 199 berths in 23 countries. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I might be back later on tonight in the live stream. I wanted to let you guys know that I'm also streaming my 24/7 live stream on X now, on Twitter. Check out my Telegram and Twitter and Rumble. The links to them are in the description below this video. I post all my video updates to Telegram and X and also to Rumble. And I am streaming on X now 24/7, so you can follow me on X as well. And also download my free app in the Google Play Store. It allows me to send out notifications to you when there's breaking news and when I post these updates, so you're not reliant on social media platforms to notify you. I can send you emergency notifications directly to your phone, and it's 100% free. The link to my app is in the description below this video, and also the Apple version is coming out very, very soon. So until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere.